Welcome to Into the Desert, where we discuss relevant issues with respect and without finger-pointing. I'm Larissa Munz.
I'm Elgin Hushbeck.
We're still getting started here, so please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, or if you have any questions, please comment down below. FDR versus the Supreme Court. While progressive views began to reshape the government in the presidencies of Theodore Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson, the Great Depression and the resultant election of Franklin Roosevelt provided the greatest opportunity for progressives. The 20th Amendment shortened the time between the election and inauguration. The 21st Amendment repealed the 18th, as prohibition was considered by then a failure. Still, the real change made by progressives in this era was in the realms of reinterpreting the Constitution rather than amending it. A major aspect of this was the continuing transformation of the presidency begun under Theodore Roosevelt. The Federalists saw Congress as the most important branch of government. Progressives wanted a stronger national government freed from checks and balances, led by a stronger president. From the progressives, we get our modern notion of the president with a legislative agenda and mandates, largely reversing the president and Congress's importance from that of the Federalists. Building on the progressive foundations laid by Theodore Roosevelt and Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt transformed our concept of the federal government, with it becoming involved in many aspects of everyday life. Believing in the rule of administrators, a major part of Roosevelt's New Deal was creating nearly 70 new federal agencies with a virtual alphabet soup of initials. Given the Depression, not surprisingly, there were areas such as banking and agriculture. Still, progressives believed in transforming society to transform human nature. So things like the Federal Art Project, FPA, were also created. As these new agencies wrote a growing number of regulations, they effectively transferred some of the legislative role to the executive branch. The agencies would write the regulation, legislative, and then see that they were followed, executive. Eventually, these agencies would take on part of the judiciary's role with administrative courts. The trials in these courts determined if individuals and companies are guilty of violating the administrator's regulations. Legislative, executive, and judiciary roles all in one organization. The New Deal was a massive change in how the federal government operated. Many New Deal laws and agencies soon ran into trouble in the Supreme Court. A centerpiece of the New Deal was the National Recovery Administration, NRA, created in 1933. This was too much, even for the Supreme Court's progressives. In a unanimous opinion, the court ruled the NRA unconstitutional, as it transferred the legislative power to the president. In response to such losses, Roosevelt called for the court to be expanded so he could appoint new judges that would vote his way. Conventional history holds that in West Coast Hotel versus Parrish, Justice Roberts changed his position to take the pressure off packing the court. This has come down in history as the switch in time that saved 9. Yet, the explanation appears to be false. Decisions in the Supreme Court are prepared long before the time that they are announced. Records show that Judge Roberts voted to uphold the law months before FDR proposed packing the court. While Roosevelt's court-packing scheme failed, he did get a more progressive court because of retirements. Running for an unprecedented third and then fourth term, he replaced all the justices with progressive justices by the end of his presidency. These judges, with a progressive understanding of the Constitution, greatly expanded the federal government scope, far beyond what had been formally understood by enumerated powers. Franklin Roosevelt was the only president to break the tradition set by Washington of only serving 2 terms. Following his death, the 22nd Amendment was passed to ensure that it would never happen again. Many of his other changes are still with us today. Thank you for listening to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe and put your comments below. Remember, be civil. We want to foster discussion and not division.